Let's take a look at what we're going to be focusing on this sprint and perhaps the next couple of sprints. We're going to be building something like this, where we have a landing page for the administrator. From there, the administrator can then navigate to various aspects that they can manipulate. Now, this is going to be split off depending on which team you belong to. So, for instance, if you're in Team 1, you're going to be focusing on perhaps pages up here, the users and details, or services and details over here, or service categories. If instead you're Team 2, you're probably going to focus on service answers and service questions. Or if you're in Team 3, you're going to be focusing more on frequently asked questions or the frequently asked answers. Right? So you're going to have different aspects that you're going to be focusing on. Yes?
I think Team 2 is on FAQs and Team 3 is on service stuff.
Okay, all right, I'll flip it. I'll make sure that it's whatever it was the previous sprint. I'll make sure it's the same, whatever the previous sprint is. Okay? Let's see. Also, notice that each team has about 4 to 6 different screens, right? But each team only has three folks to work on. So each team is going to be required to choose on their own whatever they want to work on. They can either choose to work on one of these a summary screens or a detail screen, right? So let me show you. If you are on the admin page and you want to be able to manipulate or work with users, you can navigate to users up here, right? And where you're going to get a list of all the users in the system. Okay, so it's going to be kind of like a summary page that lists all the lists in the system with some of the fields there, maybe the username, first name, and last name, right? But you won't have other fields that the user might have in addition to those. If you select a particular user, you navigate to a form where you can look at the details of that particular user, right? Where you might have additional fields that were not available in the summary page. Make sense? Right? Same thing if you navigate to services, you would see a list of all the services. Now, it doesn't have to be a list. It could be like a table formatted, right? Where you can have multiple columns, one service per row. And when you select a particular service, you can then navigate to the details page of that particular service. Make sense? Right? So again, every student is going to choose on whether they want to work on a summary screen, right, or on a details screen, right? Make sense? And so there's 3 of you in one team, but there's 4 pages from 4 screens that you can choose from. Team 1, there's 6 screens that you can choose from, of which only 3 are required. And same thing with Team 3. You can choose from which one you want to work on. Make sense? Right. Let's see. So notice that I've split up the screens into two types, right? The summary screen and the detail screen. And here below, I've cataloged all these screens. Right? Here are all the summary screens: users, services, service categories, service questions, service answers, frequently asked questions, and frequently asked answers. Right? And they're mapped to the following URLs: /admin/users, /admin services, service categories, service questions, service answers, FAQs, and FAQ answers. Right? Meaning that if you navigate to those URLs, these screens would display. Everybody okay? Pretty good? In addition to that, here I've categorized also all the details screens, right? The user details, the service category details, and so on and so forth. I've also grouped it by team. So this is Team 1, Team 2, Team 3. And I'll make sure that these are the right teams and with the right use cases. So, excuse me, were you saying that Team 2 worked on the FAQs? So this is backwards?
Yeah.
All right, I'll fix that. Just as a reminder, this is 3 and this is 2, right? So this would be 3 and this would be 2.
Okay, 3 and 2. Is that right? So 2 is service. 2 is FAQs. Okay, so this is 2 and this is 3. All right. Okay, what else? Let's see. So here's an example on the navigation, right? So if you in the admin screen, you can select users, and you can see all the users. If you select a particular user, you see the details of that user, and the URLs match the navigation. Right? /admin/admin user/admin users, and then the ID of the particular user that you've selected. Everybody good? All right, so that's navigation. Now both of them, both the summary screen and the detail screen, they both need to be able to retrieve the data from the server, right? Using the RESTful services that we've been playing around for the last couple of sprints, right? So here you have both the users and the user details. Both of them need to somehow get a hold of all the data that is in the database, right? Now we know that we've exposed this data through a RESTful service that we built last sprint. In this case, user service.java, which provides all the CRUD operations, right, mapped to certain URLs. So we need to get a hold of that data. So to do that, we're going to have to build a user service on the client on the React side that can connect through HTTP through RESTful calls and retrieve the data from the services. Make sense? Right. So this particular file is kind of shared amongst the two folks that are actually implementing both of these screens. So you have to make sure that you're not going, if both of you need to go in this file and do some coding in there, you have to make sure that you don't trample on each other, right? That perhaps, I might be working on my particular feature branch, and you're working on your particular feature branch, and we might have different versions of this service file, right? That we might need to, as we work with that service, that we merge each other's feature branches, right? So make sure that we are all in sync before submitting this and then merging it into a common master branch. So you got to be careful there. Also, you might need to do some updates or some refactoring in the RESTful services as well. Right? Again, here too, you might run into cases where you might be working on somebody else's code. Just be careful, right? That you don't trample over each other. Okay. Here's a sequence diagram that illustrates the communication from the user using the browser all the way down to the database and back. Right. We have the actor. It's transparent. You can barely see it. When they first come to the browser loads the React components. The React components use the React service, right, the user service and whatnot, right, to send an HTTP AJAX request to a server-side RESTful service, which uses a repository to do the actual select star from the database, which responds with a collection of rows that get mapped to Java lists, which then get mapped to JSON arrays of objects, right? Which then the component iterates over and generates the dynamic HTML for human consumption. Okay, this is a little misleading in that it makes it look as if this were synchronous, and it's not. It's not synchronous. It's all asynchronous. This communication over here from the React service to the REST service is actually asynchronous. Right? We shoot it, and then we get notified at some point later when this call comes back, letting us know that the response is done. Nevertheless, it illustrates the logic of it. So, in addition to the screen, every two screens is going to need a service, right? So both the user summary screen and the user detail screen, they're both going to have to use the user service. Right, this is going to be it's going to be implemented as a singleton, right? That it communicates with the RESTful service, and it's mapped to these base URLs. Now these base URLs might be different the way you implemented it. Right? So, but this is a suggestion on how this should be all be mapped. Service question. So this is 3 and this is 2. Right. Any questions? Point. Everybody okay?